I was talking with my friend the other day, and we were talking about the difference between isolation and hermiting. I feel like I'm very well versed in this topic because I am an extremely introverted homebody. I love to spend time by myself. I love to be in my own energy. I love to be in my own space. And I don't need as much socialization as normal people. I could go long stretches of time not really talking to anyone. So it's very normal for me to go months without seeing or talking to a certain friend, or seeing a friend once a year, things like that. I have a lot of friends haven't seen in 2 years, but when we do catch up, it's like hours long of just talking and catching each other up on our lives and things like that. Everyone is different, right? But if you find yourself relating to me in any sort of way and you need these periods of just being in your own energy, being in your own space, and having a rhythm that you've established that's slower and less overstimulating, but at the same time stimulating in the right ways, we need to start being able to tell the difference between when we're in that healthy hermiting phase versus when it might be veering over into an unhealthy self-isolation sort of phase. So in today's video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I could tell the difference between those two, because I've definitely went through phases of my life where I was self-isolating because my mental health was not doing well and I wasn't in a good place in my life. And if my dear friend is going through something like this, she's also neurodivergent, ADHD. I imagine a lot of you guys probably go through this as well. So I really do think this is a much needed conversation. And again, really important for us neurodivergents to be able to distinguish the difference so that we could take ownership of ourselves in our lives without feeling as much shame as we have been up until now. Okay, so let's define the terms first. A hermit is a person that retires from society and lives in solitude for spiritual, religious, personal reasons. Really quick, just for context, when I say the word hermiting, it's a word that I use to define being a hermit, and you're hermiting. Does that make sense? So there's these phases where you want to be a hermit. You want to be in your own energy on your own for a very specific reason, because you're in a specific cycle in your life. Okay. So just keep that in mind as I use that term. I don't think it's a real term, but I'm using it nonetheless. Actually, I'm going to search this up because I need to know. Okay. Hermiting is... I don't think hermiting is like a technically correct term, but I created the term from the word hermit. The main difference for me between self-isolation and hermiting is whether or not you actually want to be by yourself. So this could be tricky, especially for those of us who might have trauma, might have PTSD, CPTSD, because a lot of the times what we want and need is safety. And oftentimes safety means isolation away from people because you're not going to be triggered as much. You're not going to feel unsafe, but that's not necessarily good, right? So I think that's something to keep in mind as well, is when you have relational trauma, especially, you really need to tell the difference between I'm scared to go be around people and connect with people, but I still want to, and that's why it's so important to continuously heal your nervous system and just be on the journey of trying to foster safety and rediscover who you are outside of your trauma. You want to give and take with challenging yourself to build healthy relationships with others, to essentially show yourself the world is so much more vast than what you've went through, but also honoring your own boundaries in moments where you don't feel safe, and making sure you're teaching yourself that you will always be able to attend to yourself in ways that you may have not been able to in the past. But regardless, that is a whole other thing. I just want like a baseline understanding of the difference between self-isolation and hermiting. Self-isolation is isolating yourself despite wanting to be around others or connecting to others. Whereas hermiting, it's almost like a neutral state of being. Yes, you could be around others, but you're not going to seek it out. But more so, you're wanting to be in your own energy and you're wanting to be in your space and have that flow going. I oftentimes find that hermiting comes and goes with the different seasons and cycles of your life that you're going through. So there's a natural progression into hermiting. There's a natural existence in that hermit phase, and then there's going to be a natural progression out of that hermit phase. Self-isolation, I find, doesn't really have a flow to it. You almost force that onto yourself despite your wants and despite the cycle of life you're in. Does that make sense? And so that's something to really tune into when you're trying to figure out what it is you're going through. Does this feel natural to me? Does this flow with where I'm at in life? And therefore, does this nourish me or does this deplete me? Is another part of it. So a lot of the times when you're forcing a state of being onto yourself, let's say deep down in your soul, you want to connect with people, you want to be witnessed by others, you want to learn about others, but because of whatever personal things you're going through, you're self-isolating instead, and you're keeping yourself locked away in your home, your room. That is going to feel like a depletion on your soul, your spirit, and it'll start to bleed into other aspects of your life. You're going to feel less motivated. You're going to deal with depression and anxiety more. You might deal with numbness more. And it's because you're actively working against what you want and need deep down. Whereas when you're working with it and you're in a place where you want to kind of be on your own and in your own energy, that is going in flow with what you're needing and in that phase of life. And so what I find is that usually for people who feel drawn to hermiting themselves, it usually comes about when you're in a phase of your life where you need to reflect a lot. You need to introspect a lot. And so in these moments of hermiting, it's hard to sit with all of those things you have to process, your emotions, your life lessons up until now, what you need to integrate. It's hard to get right with all of that and get clear with it when you're constantly bombarding yourself with external stimulation and external people, right? It's hard to know exactly what you're thinking and feeling and what you want to do when you have all these people telling you what you should do or what they're doing, and you're taking in all that extra information that ends up clouding your internal world so much so that it makes processing it that much harder. That's just something that I keep in mind when I'm getting in tune with my own flow. I feel like at this point in my life, I'm pretty clear with my different seasons. So I have a really good understanding of when I'm coming into a hermit phase versus when I'm coming out of it. That's another thing, is coming out of hermit phase is something that you're not forcing onto yourself. It's a natural progression. That's what it feels like when you're flowing with your season. So for me, when I'm in my hermit phase, what it feels like is just, I don't want to surround myself with people. And a lot of the times it's because I am very sensitive on picking up on other people's energies, emotions. When I care about people, deeply process everything about them and what they're going through. And so if I'm coming into a phase of my life where I really have to digest all of my own internal information, digesting everyone else's information is gonna keep me from doing that properly. And so when I go into hermit phases, it's usually this very deep need to be like, okay, I've filled myself up to the brink with all of this stuff that I haven't processed fully yet. So I'm just gonna take this and go into my little cave and I'm gonna sit with this for however long. To the outside world, it looks like you disappeared, but really what is going on is you're really going into the nitty-gritty of your own internal world and processing everything. Usually it's a culmination of what you're going through now, and it'll oftentimes make you remember other stuff that you've already processed, but it's almost bringing these old themes back up to revisit and reprocess so that you could continue to recalibrate and integrate in your life. And oftentimes what it feels like is you've gone through a certain amount of time up until now, doing certain things a certain way, and it just no longer resonates. So I oftentimes find that my hermit phases come in during times of my life where nothing feels quite right anymore. The shoe doesn't quite fit anymore. Certain routines don't hit as much. Certain people don't really feel as good. I feel a baseline of anxiety due to misalignment. And so it's almost like this deep need to recalibrate. Like my life feels this uncomfortable. I need to go and look within, dig deep, and figure out how I need to change myself and my life so that it feels aligned again. And usually when I'm coming out of my hermit phases, it's when I'm ready to start implementing and integrating all of these changes and tweaks. When I start to do that, it feels like things click into place. There's flow. I feel this natural momentum. Did I say that right? Natural momentum. Why is that so hard to say? Natural momentum. Oh, it's like the ul sound into the m sound is hard. Natural momentum. You feel that natural momentum kind of flowing you forward in a way where before the hermit phase, it's like you put so much energy dragging yourself across your days. After the hermit phase and after the integrations, it feels like life is kind of pushing you forward in a way where all you have to do is put little bits of energy here and there, and it has astronomical benefits because of it. But that's what it's like to constantly recalibrate yourself and tune in with yourself and apply these changes. You feel in flow with yourself in the process, and it shouldn't feel like you're forcing yourself for things to happen. And that's what I feel like tends to happen when you're forcing that self-isolation onto yourself. You feel depleted by isolating yourself. And that's that weird paradox, right? Where yes, in a sense, you feel safe being on your own and isolating yourself. But on the other hand, you're suffering in all these other ways. You're mentally suffering, emotionally suffering. You want to connect, but you're feeling very lonely because of your isolation, and your health might start to deteriorate as well is another part of it, because when you get older, right? I'm only 29, but I mean, I'm already at a place where if you're not taking care of yourself, when you're not aligned, and even when you're just having a really rough emotional day, your body is going to feel the repercussions of that. Your body's going to feel the repercussions of being dysregulated on a day-to-day basis. And so self-isolation and forcing things onto yourself isn't just this abstract concept. It's actually something that you will be able to feel on a literal physiological level. You will literally feel out of alignment with your body when you are out of alignment with your own emotions, your own choices, and your own spirit. That's the thing. When you're out of alignment with your soul, your emotions, your body, and everything's out of whack and it's starting to numb out into a puddle of mush, you're not going to have answers. And so oftentimes people who self-isolate against their own will, out of habit or out of a trauma response, you end up feeling more and more confused as time goes on. Does that make sense? Whereas when you're in your hermit phase, it almost feels like things get more and more clear. Because when you're flowing with your natural cycles, you're flowing with yourself, and you're actually using that time to journey within yourself and process what's in there, you get more answers, you get more clear, you have more cathartic realizations, you get more answers as to what it is you need to do with these realizations and how you need to apply it. And so that's also another thing, is one state of being clarifies for you, whereas the other state of being actually confuses you even further. As you could tell, it's a cycle, right? The cycle of forcing self-isolation confuses you. You start spiraling downwards, and then it's harder to get yourself out of it once you keep going down, 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 because not only are you disconnected, you're also confused. I'm sure we've all been there. I've been there. I know a lot of you have been there. It's fucking hard. Whereas for hermiting, there's a natural progression out of it because there's clarification there. You know when it's time to come out of the hermit phase, and you don't even force that on yourself, right? So when I come out of hermit phase, it's not like I'm just, I keep a time and I'm like, oh, okay, it's been however many months of me being on my own. I think it's time to start seeing friends again and putting myself out there. Usually, I'm not even thinking about that. Usually what it feels like is I start hitting a certain momentum in my life where I integrate these new things in my day-to-day, in my value system, how I carry myself, in my energy, all these kind of things. And then I'll naturally feel like I'm in a place where I want to go out and share that with people. I want to go out and connect with people. I want to go out and basically take more information in, more stimulation in, because I've already fully digested all of that stuff within me. I'm a clear channel in a sense. I'm a clear vessel in a sense. And so usually after my hermit phases, there's a natural cycle of wanting to go out and expand myself again and ingest things again. And so I'll want to travel. I'll want to go, reconnect with certain people or meet new people or try new things, try a new hobby, whatever it is. And it's like that stuff is a natural progression for me rather than something I force onto myself. Does that make sense? And then usually once I'm in that phase of taking things in, connecting, all that kind of stuff, there's the next phase after that I'll naturally progress into. But all of this to say, if you find yourself in cycles of hermiting again and again, do not feel bad about it. It's actually very natural. It's actually very necessary, especially if you're a person who likes to reflect a lot. You probably go through moments and cycles of hermiting. Keep at it. Don't feel bad about it. If anything, I want to confirm that you're doing something right by yourself and honoring your own cycles. And if you have a tendency to self-isolate along with hermiting, I hope this video has helped you better understand the differences between the two so that you could better work with your own flow rather than forcing certain things onto yourself, right? If you find yourself going into self-isolation, I want you to really look within and ask yourself, why are you self-isolating? Oftentimes, it's a form of either protecting yourself or punishing yourself. Figure that out. Are you protecting yourself from others or are you punishing yourself because you feel bad about yourself? And ask yourself, what can you do to challenge yourself to not punish or protect? If you're a person who's doing it to protect yourself, find people that you feel safe enough with to lean on and to share yourself with. If you are the type of person who are punishing yourself, instead of punishing yourself, actually challenge yourself to take care of yourself instead. And with that being said, you guys, be patient. Strive to understand yourself more and more. You deserve to do that. Make sure you guys take some time to drink water. Actually, let's drink water together really quick, okay? Why is water not around you? There should be water next to you at all times. I don't know why you don't have a bottle of water or whatever next to you at all times. Get your water and we're gonna take a gulp together or we're gonna drink for what? Let's drink for 10 seconds straight, okay? Ready? Okay. Eat some food, y'all. Eat some food. Take yourself on a lovely walk. Say hi to the trees for me. Say hi to all of your little creature friends. Enjoy life. Stay regulated, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.